In 1923, a dinosaur was discovered that would help scientists to understand the form and biology of ankylosaurs more than any other. This was the Pinacosaurus, the unsung star of the ankylosauridae family, unearthed in the Flaming Cliffs region of Mongolia's Djadokhta formation. Often beautifully preserved, with many near-complete specimens, more Pinacosaurus fossils have been found than any other ankylosaur, and as a result, paleontologists have been able to discern a great deal about it. In fact, Pinacosaurus has given scientists an insight into a number of unique dinosaur behaviors and traits that don't often fossilize well. We know how this dinosaur defended itself. We know that it lived as part of traveling herds. And we also know what it might have sounded like. All of this has been discerned from the rich tapestry of bones that have been unearthed from its sandy desert home in Central Asia. Still, there are questions that have gone unanswered. But as paleontological methods and understandings improve, it may not be long until a clear picture of Pinacosaurus emerges. In today's video, we will be breaking down the life, history, and biology of Pinacosaurus, meeting this large armoured herbivore in the flesh. So join us as we travel back over 70 million years to discover exactly what kind of animal this was, and how it survived in the harsh conditions of the Djadokhta formation. This video is sponsored by Raycon. Keep your ears open and your holiday playlists rolling with Raycon's essential open earbuds. These open ear earbuds let you stay connected to your surroundings while enjoying music, podcasts, or calls. Perfect for a jog, commute, or just relaxing. And this Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you can save up to 30% on all Raycon audio products. I use these, and you should too. When I'm out and about researching dinosaurs, I need to stay aware of what's around me, and the open-ear design means I can listen without blocking out the world. They sit just outside your ear canal, so you can stay aware of traffic, people, or anything else going on nearby, without losing any audio quality. They're lightweight and comfortable for all-day wear, and the secure fit means they'll stay put when I'm out walking or getting things done. But here's the real kicker. Raycon delivers the same premium audio quality as the other big brands, but at half the price. With over 3 million customers and a 30-day happiness guarantee. Two features I love are the open-ear design for awareness around me and the multi-angular hook that adjusts for a secure fit. Plus, with 36 hours of battery life including the case, they last for days. So if you'd like to support our channel and upgrade your listening experience, click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/dinosaur-open to get up to 30% off during Raycon's Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale. That's buyraycon.com/dinosaur-open. Thanks to Raycon for sponsoring our channel. Now back to the dinosaurs. Pinacosaurus was, of course, a member of the ankylosauridae family, and within this, it sat firmly within the subfamily Ankylosauridae. This group contains a multitude of large, herbivorous, and heavily armoured dinosaurs, which are often compared to tanks. Ankylosaurus is the most famous member of the family, and these species often boast impressive dermal armour and club-like structures at the end of their tails. Specifically, Pinacosaurus lived between 71 and 75 million years ago, towards the end of the Campanian stage of the late Cretaceous period. One species has been confidently established, Pinacosaurus granderi, but another, Pinacosaurus mephistocephalus, has also been proposed. Fully grown Pinacosaurus adults measured approximately 5 meters or 16 feet long from nose to tail. This places it roughly right in the middle in terms of ankylosaur sizes, and the species was nowhere near as bulky as its famous cousin, Ankylosaurus. In fact, despite the impressive armor that plated its head, back, and tail, Pinacosaurus was a relatively lightweight animal, with some researchers suggesting that it may have weighed roughly as much as a horse. There are other estimations, however, that suggest it may have been a lot more massive, suggesting weights of just under 2 tons. When standing, it would have reached roughly 1 meter or 3.3 feet in height, with a flattened torso and 4 short legs. That dermal armor afforded the animal a great deal of protection in life, but unfortunately its entire structure is one of the few elements of this dinosaur that remains undiscovered by science. Parts of the armor have been preserved in the fossil record, but no one Pinacosaurus has been discovered with a full suit of armor plating. What we do know is that much of the animal's flanks were lined with long, recurved and roughly triangular spikes. These were particularly large examples of what are known as osteoderms, bony plates that lined the animal's skin, which in life would have been covered with a layer of keratin. Smaller osteoderms, oval in shape, were arranged in rows along the dinosaur's back. Towards the neck, ring-like osteoderms formed bands to protect Pinacosaurus's most vulnerable body parts, and one large fused mass of armor could be found towards the snout. This arrangement of armor on its snout is rather unique to the species, and helps paleontologists to identify the genus. Many other ankylosaurs, barring a few, have snout armor which is arranged in individual tiles or plates instead. Pinacosaurus's skull was broad and flattened, with horn-like armor that covered much of the base of its skull. Its mouth, like many herbivorous ornithischian dinosaurs, features a beak-like structure which would have been covered with a sheet of horn when the animal was alive. This beak would have helped Pinacosaurus to clip vegetation from the plants which it ate, while small, leaf-shaped teeth at the back of the mouth ground down the vegetation, making it easier to digest. A young Pinacosaurus specimen, described in 2015, even shows evidence of a complex tongue bone in this genus, which may have done most of the work when it came to processing food within the mouth. At the end of Pinacosaurus's lengthy tail was the trademark bony club-like structure, which was divided into 2 parts. A handle made from a series of stiff, interlocking tail vertebrae, and the knob of rounded, fused osteoderms. Scans of Ankylosaurus's tail clubs showed that they had a spongy interior, which would have helped the animal to swing its tail from left to right. It likely served as a form of defense, or as means to spar with members of the same species, but we'll discover more about this later on. Pinacosaurus was discovered during several large-scale expeditions to Mongolia's Gobi Desert, funded by the American Museum of Natural History throughout the 1920s. Specifically, many Pinacosaurus specimens have been unearthed from the Flaming Cliffs region of the Djadokhta fossil formation. The first bones belonging to Pinacosaurus were discovered specifically in 1923 by American vertebrate paleontologist Walter W. Granger, the man who unearthed a series of Cretaceous Mongolian superstars in the same series of expeditions: Velociraptor, Protoceratops, and Oviraptor, all of whom lived alongside Pinacosaurus. This holotype specimen consisted of the animal's lower jaw, 2 neck vertebrae, some dermal armor, and a heavily damaged skull. Granger sent his find back to the American Museum of Natural History, and in 1923 the dinosaur was studied and described by paleontologist Charles Whitney Gilmore, a man famous for his work on giant Cretaceous sauropod dinosaurs. Granger established that this was a new species of ankylosaur and dubbed it Pinacosaurus grangeri. Pinacosaurus translates from Greek as plank lizard, and the species name grangeri honors the fossil's initial discoverer. It wouldn't be long before additional Pinacosaurus specimens were found. In 1923, several missing elements of the animal's torso and limbs, including the sacrum, ilium, additional dermal armor, and a femur, were discovered. Not in Mongolia, but in China's Guangxi group. This site is particularly rich in herbivorous dinosaur discoveries, and genera such as Shantungosaurus, Micropachycephalosaurus, Sinoceratops, and Syntausaurus have all been unearthed here. Following this, a series of near-complete skeletons would follow from subsequent expeditions to the Flaming Cliffs, making this the best-known ankylosaur worldwide. In some instances, fossils that were previously assigned to different genera, such as the ankylosaur Saichania, were reassessed as belonging to Pinacosaurus instead. Between 1969 and 1970, joint Soviet and Mongolian expeditions to Mongolia's Alagteig Formation would reveal an amazing find: 30 juvenile Pinacosaurus specimens arranged in a mass bone bed. This expanded when a Japanese expedition discovered another 30 across the mid-90s, and once more in the early 2000s when a Canadian expedition unearthed yet another 40. It is thought that there may be far more individuals buried within these bone beds, and not all of them have been extracted from the ground. It is thought that these individuals, traveling or sheltering as a group, may have been killed by a catastrophic sandstorm that rapidly buried them all together, allowing them to be preserved extremely well in the Alagteig Formation's rocks. As a result of these finds, the entire juvenile skeleton is now known to science. But since adult specimens are still only near complete at most, certain elements of the body's dermal armor are yet to be configured. In 1996, a slightly different Pinacosaurus specimen was discovered by a joint Belgium and Chinese expedition to the Bayan Mandahu Formation in China's Inner Mongolia region. This specimen seems to have elongated horn-like armor structures atop its skull, which has led to the establishment of a new species, Pinacosaurus mephistocephalus. Mephistocephalus was assigned as a combination of Mephistopheles, a demon from German folklore, and cephalus, meaning head in Greek, on account of the devil-like horns atop its skull. There is some debate around the validity of this species, as paleontologist Gregory S. Paul suggested that it may have been another, slightly different Pinacosaurus grangeri individual. However, this species remains valid and is considered distinct from grangeri for the time being. As an adult, Pinacosaurus was a herbivore, and likely fed on tough leaves as well as the fruits that would have grown in abundance across Cretaceous Central Asia. Its beak, tongue, and tooth combination would have been perfectly equipped for processing such items. The teeth would have been replaced at a slow pace throughout the course of its life, which indicates that this animal was not equipped for processing extremely coarse plants, such as those enjoyed by, say, Protoceratops. Some of the young Pinacosaurus from the Alagteig bone beds show evidence of muscular stress within the tongue bones, which some paleontologists have interpreted could have been an indication of insectivorous behaviour. This is unconfirmed, however, and may have only been a habit of young individuals. The young Pinacosaurus found within the Alec-Teague Formation were all facing the same direction when they died. This indicates that they were indeed travelling as part of a herd, likely for safety in numbers against hungry theropods that may have been looking for an easy meal. They were all roughly the same age, and those that died were about 1.5 meters or just under 5 feet long. It is thought that any larger individuals travelling with the herd may have been able to escape from the sand that rapidly covered them quickly. But unfortunately, these youngsters were not able to dig themselves free. Strangely though, no hatchlings were found alongside them. Spectacularly, we may even know what Pinacosaurus sounded like. A fossilized larynx of a Pinacosaurus grangeri was unearthed in 2023, complete with very well preserved cartilage. At face value, it looked like the larynxes seen in modern-day reptiles, but its airflow capabilities seemed to mirror those of birds. Overall, it looked like Pinacosaurus was well suited to making very loud calls, which may have resembled those produced by modern-day species of large birds. Across its range, Pinacosaurus would have thrived in arid, semi-desert regions. Most of its food would have come from sparse vegetation lining the edges of dry regions, and the occasional oasis that created a haven for small animals. Interestingly, no large theropods are known to have shared this ecosystem with Pinacosaurus. Many small dromaeosaurs, akin to Velociraptor, lived here. Perhaps if Velociraptor was a pack hunter, it may have been capable of teaming up to bring down a dinosaur as large as Pinacosaurus, but this has not been confirmed. The fact that Pinacosaurus had armour and a club for a tail implies that it needed to defend itself from something, but at this stage we simply don't know what that was. The fact that Pinacosaurus evolved with a more lightweight and smaller frame may indicate that it needed to hit swift and fast-moving targets, and Velociraptor certainly fits the bill. Pinacosaurus fossils have been found in several localities across Central to East Asia, centered around southern Mongolia to northern China. The region today is part of the Gobi Desert, and when Pinacosaurus walked the earth, it wouldn't have looked particularly different. Vegetation was mainly present in the form of low-growing plants or bushes, from which, in the Djadokhta Formation, herbivores such as Pinacosaurus could graze alongside Protoceratops, Eudanoceratops, and Bagaceratops. Velociraptor was not the only carnivore here. Small, lithe theropods such as Saurornithides and the newly described Sri rapax hunted herbivores, while animals such as Halscaraptor darted along the edges of water bodies, picking at invertebrates like a duck. Oviraptorids, omnivorous, feathered, chicken-like animals, ate plant and animal matter amongst the sandy oases, while alvarezsaurs probed for insects with their long claws and slender snouts. In China's Guangxi group, arid conditions that gave way to river systems supported a wider variety of large dinosaur life. Here, Pinacosaurus was a slightly rarer find, while animals such as the tiny Micropachycephalosaurus darted in and out of the undergrowth in search of fresh leaves to browse from. Shantungosaurus, the largest ornithischian dinosaur in the fossil record, was also found amidst this group, and may have encountered Pinacosaurus on occasion. This titan grew to the immense proportions seen in sauropods, measuring up to 17 meters or 56 feet long, and weighing in at around 16 tons. Within the Guangxi group's Jinggeshuang formation, there is in fact one large predator, Zhucheng tyrannus, and although it did not live directly in the vicinity of Pinacosaurus, perhaps a similar, as of yet undiscovered predator required Pinacosaurus to be as well armoured as it was. Zhucheng tyrannus was a very large tyrannosaurid dinosaur, roughly 10 meters or 33 feet in length, and it relied upon its extremely powerful bite force to crush the bones of its prey. The Alagteig Formation in Mongolia's Omnogovi province was slightly less harsh and was characterized by a complex river basin that flowed through the arid lands on either side of it. Floodplains at Alagteig would have permitted more abundant plant life to grow, and the desert conditions seen at Djadokhta were not quite as intense here. At Alagteig, Pinacosaurus would have lived alongside Abderrhaenorus, a titanosaurian sauropod measuring over 13 meters or 42.5 feet in length. Abderrhaenorus thrived on the more abundant vegetation that grew here, while Pinacosaurus, Protoceratops, and the small hadrosaurian Plesiohadrus browsed far below its towering frame. The river system here supported turtles, which likely subsisted on a diet of invertebrates and fish that kept the ecosystem alive. As it stands, no carnivorous dinosaurs are known to have inhabited the Alagteig Formation. While Pinacosaurus is not quite as famous as the larger ankylosaurids within its family, it is the most fruitful when it comes to fossil content. Researchers have been able to discern a massive amount of information from this animal, which is in part thanks to the dry, sandy conditions it lived in that allowed it to fossilize so well. Herding behavior, evidence of vocalizations, and intricate details of the dermal suit of bony armor carried by this dinosaur all help to paint an intricate picture of how Pinacosaurus lived. Still, there are plenty of key points of information which we still don't know. Was Velociraptor really enough of a threat to warrant such a defensive phalanx of armor? We know that Pinacosaurus likely sounded similar to modern birds, but which ones specifically? Hopefully these are questions that will be answered in time, as paleontologists discover even more specimens of this already abundant little gem of the Cretaceous.